Hey kids, it's Mrs. Compton. We're going to do your fourth grade chapter 4 review. And we're going to start first with question number 1. And that is on page 193. All right, so there are 9 showings of a film about endangered species at the Science Museum. A total of 459 people saw the film. The same number of people were at each showing. About how many people were at each showing? Select the numbers the quotient is between. Okay, so in this story, we've got 9 showings and 459 people seeing the film in total, right? So we know we're dividing 459 by 9 if we were looking for the actual answer. But it says about how many people were at each of the showings, and then select the numbers the quotient is between. So we actually have to select 2 numbers because we want to know what the quotient is going to be between. Okay, so let's think about this. We've got 459 divided by 9, and we're going to try to figure out what that quotient might be between. Okay, so let's think about this. I could round this 459 to 500 and then divide it by 9, but that's not really that friendly because 500 divided by 9 is not really that friendly. But I know that 450 divided by 9 might be a little bit easier for me to do because I know 45 divided by 9 is a fact that I know. So I could round this to 450 and then divide it by 9, and then that would help me see what the answer might be. Okay, so 45 divided by 9 is 5. So 450 divided by 9 would be 50. All right, so we rounded this down a little bit, right? So we rounded 459 to 450. So that means our quotient is actually going to be a little bit more. And some of you might actually be saying, well, I know what the quotient actually is now, because if you had to do the last step of 9 divided by 9, that's 1. So the actual answer would be 51, right? So this question is actually asking for us to select the numbers the quotient is between. So I know the quotient is going to be between 50 and 60. 51's between 50 and 60. So there we go. All right, question number 2. Between which 2 numbers is the quotient of 87 divided by 5? Write the numbers in the boxes. All right, cool. So we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So 87 divided by 5. Well, I'm going to use my basic fact again. And to me, I always like to use something that's friendly to the divisor. So our divisor is 5. So what would be friendly to the 5? I know that I could do 85 divided by 5 because I know that's going to go in evenly because anything that ends with a 5 or a 0, I can divide equally by 5. So between which 2 numbers is the quotient of 87 divided by 5? All right, so the next thing I think about is how I'm going to do that without counting by 5s until I get to 85, because that might take me a while. So I'm going to break that 85 into a 50 because that's friendly to divide by 5. I already know that's going to be 10. And then let's see, 50, 60, 70, 80. So 35 would be left. So remember back in the day when we were young kids and we were making these number bonds, like in 1st grade and 2nd grade? They actually can help you with division too. So it's important to continue to think about this stuff. So we've got 50 divided by 5 and 35 divided by 5 now. All right, so I'm going to do 50 divided by 5, and then I'm going to do 35 divided by 5, and I'm going to get that answer. So let's see. I got to put my division signs in here. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but it's okay. There we go. Okay, 50 divided by 5 is 10. And 35 divided by 5 is 7. So the answer to that is 17. Okay, so the quotient now we know is going to be somewhere very close to 17. It looks like it might be even 17 remainder 2, right? Because our real question was 87 divided by 5. So the quotient will be between these two, because 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So it would be between those two. So in here, I would just type in 15 and 20. All right, off to the races. Next one. Look at the model. What division problem is being shown? All right, you know I love a good model. Modeling with mathematics is hugely important. So let's think about this. What do you notice here? You probably notice that we've got 3 groups. So our divisor is going to be 3. And you probably have counted the number of dots already, and you probably notice there's 1 over here. So we do have a remainder being shown here, right? So let's see. We've got 6, 12, 18, 19 dots divided into 3 groups. So let's see. 19 dots divided into 3 groups gives us, so I put an arrow, gives us how many dots per group? 6 dots per group with a remainder of 1 dot that didn't get an equal group. Okay? Alrighty. Love modeling with mathematics. It makes so much sense to my brain. Okay, so we've got a yes-no situation coming at us. Number 4. For A through 4D, choose yes or no to tell whether the division sentence has a remainder. More remainder thinking. Okay, so we've got 28 divided by 4. Is that a fact that you know? Maybe it is a fast fact. Maybe you can count by 4s, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28. And then maybe you're like, well, I know 4 times 7 is 28. So this is not going to have a remainder. It is going to go nice and equally into 28 divided by 4 is 7. All right, 35 divided by 2. Will that have a remainder? Well, 2 is like, an even number type sitch. So we know that if we have 35 divided by 2, this will have to be an even number in order for it to not have a remainder. So in this case, like if you had 35 socks and you were putting them into pairs, you would have a remainder. All right, so that's a yes. All right, next. 40 divided by 9. Well, you probably know this one too. 40 divided by 10 is 4. And 40 divided by 9 will have a remainder. It won't go equally in. I also know 9 times 4 is 36. And 9 times 5, 9 times 5 is 45. So those are kind of guides that I'm using. All right, 45 divided by 5. Nice. This one has a 5, and this number has a 5 in the ones place. So I know that there will not be a remainder. No remainder here. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, is that it? Yep. Okay, on to the next. A park guide plans the Swan boat ride for 40 people. Each boat can carry 6 people at a time. What is the best way to interpret the remainder in this situation so that everyone gets a ride? All right, I like it. This is not one where it says we have to solve it. It's saying what's the best way to interpret the remainder? Obviously, everyone's going to get a ride. We're not going to just leave somebody out of the boat, right? So if you had 40 divided by 6, 40 divided by 6, you know that there would be a remainder. Basically, the story tells you so. So perhaps you want to solve it, but we actually really don't need to. So the best thing to do so that everyone gets a ride is basically you got to just increase your quotient. by 1. So if this is, let's see, 6 remainder 4, I think. So this is actually what the answer is to that. I would need to increase and not just get 6 boats, because now you've got 4 people crying on the sidelines because they don't have a ride. So I would need to increase my 6 to a 7. So increase the quotient 6 to 7. So now everybody gets a ride if we get 7 boats. Off to the next. Number 6. Nolan divides his 88 toys into boxes. Each box holds 9 cars. How many boxes does Nolan need to store all of his cars? Okay, so for this one, we actually do need to solve it, right? So we are doing 88 divided by 9 equals what? All right, now I know 90 divided by 9 is 10. So that actually really helps me if I'm using that as a guide, because if I know 90 divided by 10, or excuse me, 90 divided by 9 is 10, then I know 88 is going to be, 88 divided by 9 is going to have the answer of 9 with a remainder. So that kind of gets me going when I start thinking about those multiples of 10. 88 divided by 9 is 9 with a remainder of, let's see, 9 times 9 is 81. So that would give me a difference of 7. So it's going to have a remainder of 7. Okay, now, are we going to leave those cars out? These would be extra cars not getting a box. Or are we going to do the same thing as last time and increase the quotient by 1? So instead of having 9 boxes with 7 cars laying around, we would just buy 10 boxes, right? So the answer here would have to be 10. We'd increase that remainder by 1. Woo, there's a lot to look at here. Let's put a little shade on there. All right, there we go. So we've got number 7. A group of 140 tourists are going on a tour. The tour guide rents 15 vans. Each van holds 9 tourists. Okay, so I want to make sure that you guys are stopping to think about this situation. Okay, so stop to make the picture in your head. I'm going to pause. I'm just going to stop talking for a second so you can read it again. Okay, so we've got 140 tourists. The tour guide rents 15 vans. Each van holds 9 tourists. Okay, let's check out what part A says. Write a division problem that can be used to find the number of vans needed to carry the tourists. Okay, so we've got 140 tourists. 140 tourists. And each van holds 9 tourists. So we don't need to use the 15 right now. The 15 is what the tour guide rented. These two numbers are going to tell us how many we need to rent, right? Okay, so we've got 140 divided by 9 equals whatever that equals. All right, so here we go. Let's see. All right, write a division problem that can be used to find the number of vans needed to carry the tourists, then solve. Okay, so we did the first part, and now we need to solve it. Okay, so I'm thinking it has to be more than 10, because 90 divided by 9 is 10. 180 divided by 9 would be 20. So I know it has to be somewhere between 10 and 20. My quotient's going to be somewhere between 10 and 20. So I'm going to use some multiplication to help me, I think. Let's see. Oop. Let's straighten that up a little bit. I'm going to start just making my division symbol. I'm going to copy that. Okay. So we've got 10 times 9 is 90. Okay, we know that. And then from 90 to 140, we have 60 left, right? So let's think. What could we do? How about, what's 5 times 9? Let's see. 5 times 9 is 45. So let's see. We've got 135 people here. And I think that's as close as we're going to get, because if we add another group of 9, we'll go past the 140. So 15 times 9 would give us 135. So our quotient is going to be 15, but we still have 5 more that we'd have to add on to get to 140 tourists, right? So this is our remainder here. And P.S., you don't have to do this the way I'm doing it. This is just a review. So I am solving in a way that makes sense to me, and also a way that I'm guessing many of you will solve. But if you have another way of doing it, that's totally fine. Okay, so here we are. We've got 15, remainder 5. Let's see what part B is asking us. What does the remainder mean in the context of this problem? Okay, so this means we need 15 full vans, right? But the remainder is people. So that's kind of a problem. We've got 5 people remaining, right? So we have 5 tourists. 5 tourists did not fit in the 15 vans. So we've got some people probably pretty upset at this point, right? Okay, so now it says, how can you use your answer to determine if the tour guide rented enough vans? Explain. Okay, well, we already know that people are crying on the side of the road. So we already know the tour guide messed this one up, right? So we know that having a remainder of 5 people not in a van means the tour guide did not rent enough vans, right? So this tour guide needs to get another van stat. All right, I hope you don't go on a tour like that. Here we go. 3,200 divided by 8. Okay, so it's basic fact time. Let's see. This is the same as 32 hundreds. Have you heard any adults saying it like that? 3,200. We try to make sure to say 3,200, so we're saying the number correctly. But it's also the same as 32. And then if you think of like a hundreds block in your mind, it's the same as 32 of those 100 blocks, right? So I'm going to type out 3,200. That actually will help me because I know now that all I have to do is divide that by 8. And 32 divided by 8 is way easier for me to do than 3,200 divided by 8 in my head, right? Or at least it is for me. All right. So 32 divided by 8 is what? Do you know your basic fact? If you're not sure, you'll have to think about how to figure that part out. Will you count by 8s? Maybe you just know 8 times 4 is 32. Maybe. Just depends on how you're thinking about that, right? So 32 divided by 8 is 4. But then we have to put on the 100, right? So the answer then would be 400. So up here, I'm just going to write it as 400. So see how this 400 is the same as this when I put it in number form or standard form, right? So there we go. Number 9, which quotients are equal to 300? All right, mark all that applied. We can do this. All right, so quotient. So I know I'm dividing and equal to 300. All right. Oh, it's basic fact time. I just looked at the numbers and I'm like, okay, I got this. Here we go. 1,200 or 1,200. So I'm using my basic fact again. So I'm thinking about it as 1,200 divided by 4. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. And then 100, right? The 100 has to be added on there. So 300. Okay, so this one's a yes. All right. Basic fact time over here. 18 divided by 9 is 2. So 180 divided by 9 is 2, in this case, tens, which is the same as 20. So B is not going to work out for us this time. Okay, on to the next. This is 2,400. Maybe you're deciding that 2,400 might be a way that you want to say it to help you with the basic fact of 24 divided by 8. 24 divided by 8 is 3. And then we have the 100, right? 300. So that's a yes. C. All right, next one. 2,100 divided by 7, otherwise known as 21 hundreds. Remember, it's like that. Remember those base 10s? It'd be like, let's see if I can find one real quick. It'd be like 21 of these guys here. So 21 hundreds would make 2,100, right? Just for the visual. Okay, so 2,100 divided by 7 would be 21 divided by 7, which is 3, because 3 times 7 is 21. And then we have to add on our 100. So this is a yes. Okay. How about the next one, 90 divided by 3? So this is the same as, 90 is the same as not 9 hundreds, but 9 tens, right? So I know 9 divided by 3 is 3. But then it's only tens. It's not hundreds. So that would make it, the answer would be 30, not 300. So that's an NO on that one. All right, next up, 3,000 divided by 3. Okay, well, I think I'm going to write down the 3 and then 1,000, right? So then 3 divided by 3 is 1, and then we have to add in the 1,000, so 1,000. So that's a no-go. So our answers for this one are A, C, and D. On to the next. Here we go. We've got Margot. Number 10. Margot estimated 188 divided by 5 is to be between 30 and 40. Which basic facts did she use to help her estimate? Mark all that apply. All right, so we're going to have more than one answer here. Whenever it says mark all that apply, it's surely going to have more than one answer, right? Okay, so we've got Margot with 188 divided by 5. And she says the answer is between 30 and 40. All right, so what do you think she used to help her? So what basic fact? As I look at this, I'm like, I'm not really sure. So I have to think maybe there was some rounding. I have to think maybe there was something else going on in Margot's mind. Maybe she was thinking about taking out pieces of 188. So I'm going to write this down very sloppily, but I'm doing my best, you guys. It's just a hard thing. So divided by 5. Maybe she thought about 88 splitting that into 150. And then, let's see, 38 would be left for this one here. I'm thinking about that. And then she maybe used 15 divided by 5 to help her. That's a possibility, right? Because that's not too far off. So If she estimated that, this would give her about 30, right? So let's see. So let's be about 30, because we've got this here, 15 divided by 5 is 3. 150 divided by 5 would be 30. So this is a possibility here. All right. I skipped ahead. I got too excited about this one. So let's go back and look at A. We've got 10 divided by 5. Well, 10 divided by 5 we know is 2, right? So that's not really going to help her with between 30 and 40. So to me, this one seems like it's out. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So maybe if she was thinking about it as 150 divided by 5, that would be 30. So that one would help. 200 or 20 divided by 5, maybe she used that basic fact and really rounded 188 to 200 divided by 5. And that would give us what? 20 divided by 5 is 4. So 200 divided by 5 would be 40, right? So that's a yes in my mind, because that's between 30 and 40. So yay on that one. 25 divided by 5, well, that's 5. So, and there'd be no reason for her to round to 250 divided by 5, and that would be 50 anyway. So that's a no. All right, Margot, this question was a little odd. Oop, but we don't want to skip number 11 with Matthias. All right, so we've got number 11. Matthias and his brother divided 2,029 marbles equally. About how many marbles did each of them receive? Okay, I love it. We've got Matthias and his brother. How many people is that? 2. And they're dividing this number equally by 2, right? So let's see if I can get my division symbol. There we go. So 2,029 divided by 2. All right, easy peasy lemon squeezy. You just round that 2,029 to a nice, easy 2,000, right? So now we're just going to round it. I'm going to make that into 2,000, and 2,000 divided by 2 would be 1,000. So this is, remember, it's about how many marbles. So each boy received about 1,000 marbles. I want to know what you're going to do with 1,000 marbles. You must be a collector at that point. Woo! All right, number 12. Coming at you quick. Let's go here. Let's cover these. I get overwhelmed when I'm looking at too much stuff. For 12a through 12d, choose yes or no to show how to use the distributive property to break apart the dividend to find the quotient 132 divided by 6. I need to read that again. You probably do too. Make sure you understand the question. Got it. Okay, so when you're using the distributive property, you're breaking up the dividend, or it could even be the divisor, right? But we're breaking up something and kind of passing it out in pieces to make things easier. So for 12a through 12d, choose yes or no to show how to use the distributive property. Okay, let's look at this. Our initial problem is 132 divided by 6, okay? Now, we want to make it easier on ourselves when we're using the distributive property, right? So let me ask you this. Is 115 divided by 6 easy to do for you? Is 17 divided by 6 easy to do for you? Do they each have remainders? They do. They each have remainders. So you know what? This one's going to be a no. I'm just going to highlight that in yellow. We'll just roll with that. All right. So that doesn't make sense. Okay. How about the next one? 100 divided by 6 and then 32 divided by 6. Well, think about this. 100 divided by 6. Is that going to give us a remainder? It is. 32 divided by 6, though, we can do easily. Actually, not really, because it's still going to give us a remainder. So this one's out, man. No go. Okay, next one. Let's see if, so basically what I'm looking for is, are these pieces easy and friendly to divide by 6? And are they going to give me a remainder? If the answer is they're not going to give me a remainder and they're evenly going to be divided by 6, then that's a yes for me. Okay, so I know this one. I'm going to start here because I know this basic fact. 6 times 7 is 42. So this part is going to be evenly divided. And then I'm going to come over here. I don't know this one quite yet, but I'm going to break the 90 into smaller pieces so I can think about it. So I'm going to break the 90 into a 60 and a 30. Remember, it's like those number bonds from when we were little. We're not little anymore, but we can still use them to our advantage. And 60 divided by 6 is 10. 30 divided by 6 is 5. So I know that this is not going to have a remainder either. So the answer for this one is a yes. This one would be helpful in a way to use the distributive property for 132 divided by 6. Okay, last one. 72 divided by, a basic fact and a basic fact. Okay, I know for sure that 72 divided by 6 does not have a remainder. And here's how I know. I know because 72 is composed of a 60. I'm choosing 60 because my divisor is 6, and 6 times 10 is 60, and a 12. So 60 divided by 6 is 10. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So that's going to go nice and evenly. And this I already know is 10. 60 divided by 6 is 10. So there will be no remainder for this one. So this is an excellent way to use the distributive property. All right. Next. Whoa, this is a lot. Got to cover it again. Got to get the picture in my mind before I start looking at all that stuff. It's probably beneficial for you to do that too. All right, so let's check this one out. There are 60 people waiting for a river raft ride. Okay, make the picture in your head. Each raft, thought I was not going to have a mistake in this one, darn it. Each raft holds 15 people. Sylvia used the work below to find the number of rafts needed. Explain how Sylvia's work can be used to find the number of rafts needed. All right, so now it's time to see what Sylvia did. All right, so let's check it out. She did 60 people divided into rafts of 15, right? So you can imagine that. Okay, so she's like, all right, first group, 15 people, you get a raft. This is the 15 people here. This represents one raft, right? Okay, so those people are out on the water, and we've got 45 more people standing there waiting for their raft. And she looks at those 45 people and she goes, all right, 15 of you, come on, let's go. You're getting in another raft. So there we go. All right, so those people are sailing away. Now there's 30 people standing there waiting for their ride. And she goes, all right, out of you 30 people, 15 more need to come get on the next raft. All right, so then off they go. And then she's like, all right, you guys are the last to be picked. Maybe they're the strongest. And they get a raft. And now everyone is in a raft. There are 0 people left waiting for their ride on a raft. Okay, so now let's go back and look again. There are 60 people waiting for a river raft ride. All right, I'm going to be quiet. You read back to yourself. Okay, so now we just have to explain how Sylvia's work could be used to find how many rafts are needed, right? Okay, so Sylvia put 15 people in a raft. And she showed that with repeated subtraction, right? She repeatedly subtracted 15. Sylvia put 15 people in a raft, and she showed that with repeated subtraction. We can see that Sylvia will need how many rafts? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 rafts. All right, there we go. Dunzo. Number 14, here it comes. A traveling circus brings along everything it needs for the circus in big trucks. Okay, get that picture in your head. Giant circus truck. All the supplies are going in this truck. Part A. The circus sets up chairs in rows with 9 seats in each row. How many rows will need to be set up if 513 people are expected to attend in the show? All right. Looks like we've got to solve a division problem. What will you do? Okay. 9 seats in each row. We've got to get 513 seats, right? Because the people are all putting butts in chairs. So that's what we're trying to figure out here. 513 divided by, trying to get my division symbol. There it is. 513 divided by 9. Okay. How will you do this? I know I'm going to use my basic facts because that's just the way I like to roll. So I'm going to start thinking about, I'm going to start thinking about 9 times 1, 9 times 2, so on, so on, so on, right? So 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 6 is 54. So I'm actually going to use my basic fact of 9 times 5 is 45 to help me out with this. So what I'm doing is I'm going to split this 513 into 45 tens, otherwise known as 450. So I'm basically just doing big friendly chunks to this 9. Now, I can see that I have some left. I haven't used up, this is just a plain old number bond. I haven't used up all of this. So 450 plus what would get us to 513? Well, I know 450 plus 50 is 500, plus another 13 would be 513. So 63. And that's good news because 63 is divisible by 9. That's another basic fact. Okay. So now I know I have to do 450 divided by 9 divided by 9. This is the distributive property, you guys. This is breaking up this number here and putting it into smaller friendly pieces to the divisor. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And I'm also going to do 63 divided by 9. All right, so here we go. 45 divided by 9 is 5. So 450 divided by 9 is 50. Plus 63 divided by 9. Okay, so 60, let's see. That's a basic fact, right? So 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times 7 is 63. So it's going to be 7. So the answer here is going to be 57. We need 57 rows. All right, so use the distributive property to your advantage. Choose these nice little pieces. Actually, this was a big chunk here, but I used my basic facts to help me, right? So I need 57 rows. Seems reasonable. Okay, part B. Can the rows be divided into a number of equal sections? Explain how you found your answer. All right, well, we would need 57 rows. I'm trying to make this picture in my head, right? So can 57 be arranged into equal sections? Or excuse me, can 57 rows be arranged into equal sections? Because when you go to a theater, a lot of times like the stage is right here, and then they'll have sections kind of like this. Well, I shouldn't say I'm a terrible drawer. I'm still working on my drawing skills, you guys. So these would be like the seats, right? So you can just imagine when you go to a show, you're not all slammed together, right? So here we are. We'll put them in like different sections, right? That way you have rows to walk and get out and get snacks and go to the bathroom and all that good stuff. All right. So we are trying to think about, can we arrange 57 rows into sections? Okay. So is 57 divisible by another number? So is it divisible by 2? No. How about by 3? Not sure yet. How about by 4? Not sure yet. 5? No way. So 6? Nope, because 60 divided by 10. So I'm going to try out 3. That was the first one I didn't know. So is 57 divisible by 3? Can I break the 57 into 3 equal sections? So I'm basically just playing with my numbers. So 57 divided by 3. Oh, wait a minute. I just realized something. This is, if I add 3 to it, it's 60 divided by 3. And I know 60 divided by 3 is 20. So that means I can. Because that would make this answer be 19. Because it's just one group less. So 57 divided by 3 is going to be 19. Because 60 divided by 3 is 20. So the answer to that is yes, we can divide 57 rows into 3 equal sections. Okay, now you would have to explain what you did. I'm not going to type my whole explanation. That would take way too long, but make sure when you're taking your test and when you're doing your work, if it says explain, you have written your explanation. All right, part C had to go on a different page. I didn't have enough room. All right, so we still have the same story context. A traveling circus brings along everything it needs for the circus and big truck. Circus horses eat about 250 pounds of horse food per week. About how many pounds of food does a circus horse eat each day? All right, so we need to know something in here that is not given to us, but it's something we all know. There are 7 days in a week, right? So it says 250 pounds of horse food per week. So a week has 7 days. We have to know that because it's asking about each day how much a horse eats. So that kind of helps me understand that I am going to be doing 250 divided by 7. Now, here's the other set of good news. This was an about. It says about. So that means I can use a friendly fact. So 250 divided by 7, well, I'm going back to my basic facts right now. 7, 14, 21, 28. I can use basic facts to help me. I can also think about multiplication to help me. So what do you guys think? I'm going to think about this as, let's see, 210. I'm going to split the 250 into a 210. And then how about I'll go 40 for right now. So I'm splitting apart the 250 into a 210 and a 40. Okay, so far, this is just my thought process to help myself get started. So here we go. We've got 210 divided by 7. Now I know 21 divided by 7 is 3. So 210 divided by 7 is going to be 30, right? So 210 divided by 7 is 30. Now, I've got 40 divided by 7. That's not going to be a friendly fact, right? But I also know that 35 divided by 7 is 5. And I also know 7 times 6 is 42. So those are basic friendly facts that you could use to help yourself. So I know that the horse is probably going to eat. Let's see. I'm going to do 35 divided by 7. Get 5. So a good estimate here would be 35 pounds. But then we could also round it to the nearest 10. So we could say the horse will eat about 40 pounds of food. Oops, did I say each week? I meant per day. Whoa, can you imagine eating 40 pounds of food per day? That would be insanity. Woo, all right, here we go. Number 15. Hilda wants to save 825 digital photographs in an online album. Each folder of the album can save 6 photographs. She uses division to find out how many full folders she will have. In what place is the first digit of the quotient? All right, so we've got Hilda going 825 divided by 6. 825 divided by 6. Now, we have to really understand what the question's asking us. It says, in what place? So will it be in the ones place, tens place, hundreds place, thousands place? So in what place is the first digit of the quotient? All right, so basically I'm using 100 times 6 as a basic fact to help me is 600, right? So I know my answer is going to be all the way into the hundreds because this 600 hasn't even gotten us to 825 yet. So I know my answer is going to be more than 100, but less than 1,000, right? So my answer here would be in what place would the first digit of the quotient be? It would be in the hundreds place. All right. Next, number 16. Here we go. Which model matches each expression? Write the letter in the box next to the model. Okay, so we've got A, 160 divided by 8, B, 150 divided by 30, C, and D, right? Okay, so let's look at the number line, analyze it. What do you see? What are the endpoints? We've got 0, we've got 150. So that automatically eliminates A and C because these are 160 and this one has an endpoint of 150. Now, it was broken into, let's see, groups or counts by groups of 30s, right? But it's counting backwards because it's the arrow is going this way. So it's actually showing repeated subtraction. So minus 30, minus 30, minus 30, minus 30, minus 30, right? So that would show us 150 divided by 30. So we would type in B. All right, next step. Ooh, change of color. Didn't mean to do that, but hey. Okay, so next up we've got to analyze that number line again. So we've got our endpoint of 0 and 160. So go ahead and rule out the ones that you know can't be. And then think about the hops. Remember, we're hopping backwards because the arrow is going this way. So 160 minus 40, minus 40, minus 40, minus 40. So 160 divided by groups of 40. All right, so that one would be C. All right, analyze 150 groups of what being taken off? Looks like groups of 50 are the hops, so that would make this one D. And then the last one should be A, but let's make sure. So we've got 160 as our endpoint, and it looks like we're taking 2 big hops of 80. So that makes sense. The answer would be A. All right, next step, we got some popcorn to think about. Nice. Popcorn was donated for the school fair by 3 different popcorn vendors. They donated a total of 636 bags of popcorn. Okay, so make sure you're getting the picture in your mind. Stop to think about it. All right, each vendor donated the same number of bags. How many bags of popcorn did each vendor donate? All right, so we've got 3 different popcorn vendors and 636 bags, right? I see another really good option to use the distributive property because we're doing 636 divided by 3. So we just basically want to break down this 636 into nice, friendly chunks. So what would that look like? I don't know. I'm thinking, I could do 300 and then another 300. Remember, it's just a number bond. So I've used up, if I do a 300 and a 300, I've used up 600, and now I just have 36 left to go, and I'm just going to do that because that's a basic fact. All right, so 300 divided by 3. Too slow. I'm going to just copy paste because I have to do it again. Woo, there we go. Much better. 300 divided by 3 plus, we've got to do it again because we broke the 600 into a 300 and a 300, right? So 300 divided by 3 plus another 300 divided by 3. And then we have to do the 36 divided by 3. So that's our last little piece, plus 36 divided by 3. All right, have you already figured it out while I'm talking to you? You probably have. All right, so 300 divided by 3 is 100. I know that because 100 times 3 is 300. I basically use multiplication to solve most of my division problems if you haven't caught on to that yet. All right, 300 divided by 3 is 100 again. I love it because I didn't even have to think about it. And then 36 divided by 3, I'm thinking about 30 divided by 3 and then 6 divided by 3. So I know that 36 divided by 3 is going to be a combination of those basic facts, which is 12. So I now know my answer is 100 plus 100, 200 plus 12. My answer is 212. So, and that is reasonable. Always make sure to stop and ask yourself, is that reasonable? So if there are 3 vendors, is it reasonable that each of them donated 212 bags? The answer to that is, I think so. All right, use partial quotients. What are we gonna do here? Basically, we're gonna try to take out big chunks. We're gonna make things make sense, right? So we've got 832 divided by 8. So, whoa, up first. Oh, I see. They've kind of set us up for success here. We're going to take a big old chunk out of 832. We're going to say, all right, we can take out 800 because that's friendly to divide by 8. So 100 times 8 is 800. So it's easy. You could just think about that basic fact. And there you go. Oops. I messed that up. Please forgive me. This is 800 right here, right? So we took out 100 groups of 8. So what I should write here is not 800, but 100. 100 groups. Okay, that makes sense? You can always hit pause if you need some more time to think about it. All right, so we took out 800 things, used them up. They're in 100 groups now. But we still have 32 left. So we have to think about those 32. So down here, I'm thinking I've got 32 left. So I just write 32 right there. And then Can we use up all 32 of those things and put them into 8 equal groups? I think we can, because we know our basic fact of 4 times 8, which is exactly 32. And that gives us another 4 groups, right? Because we had to do 4 groups of 8. So it actually helps me to write the word groups right there. I don't know why, but it just does. So I'm going to do it for me. If it makes sense to you, then that's great too. All right, now we've used up everything. So we had to think about this. We had 104. So we're going to add those together. Boom. We've got 104. All right, so that works for me. Partial quotients. Taking out nice big chunks that make sense to our divisor. Seems to be the theme of this unit here. All right, last page, number 19. Zach needs to divide these base 10 blocks into 3 equal groups. Draw or describe a model to show how many are in each group. All right, so first you have to find out how many blocks you've got, right? 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. So basically we are doing 48 divided by 3. All right, so now we have to describe or draw a model to show how many are in each group. All right, so let's do it. Whoa. Sometimes I get overzealous with my drawings here. All right, so those are my 3 groups. So if I wanted to, I could just actually show how we would divide that, the 40. So I'd get 110 into each group. And then I would need to, I guess, break these down, right, into ones, because I can't put this here because then the other 2 groups wouldn't get those. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to just trade it out for 10 ones. So I'm going to make 10 ones over here. So those are the 10 ones. And now I'm going to get rid of this one. I'm trading it. All right. So now I've got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 divided by 3. So basically we started out with 48 divided by 3. We're using the distributive property at this moment. We've already taken out 30 of them. We did 30 divided by 3 is 10, right? So 10, 20, 30 divided by 3, 10 went into each group. Now, there are 18 left. Those are these. Now, do you know what 18 divided by 3 is? You might already know, because you might know 6 times 3 is 18. So now I just know that I'm going to be putting in, I think I'm going to move 5 into each group because it's just kind of laid out perfectly that way. 5 into each group, and then I'll put 1 more into each group. So basically each group got 6 more. Okay, so draw or describe a model to show how many are in each group. So each group gets 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I'm going to actually write that too, just so my answer is clear to my teacher. Each group gets 16. There we go. Modeling with mathematics always makes it more clear to me. All right, number 20, we've got Jim. Jim needs to divide 750 coupon books equally among 9 stores. All right. In which place is the first digit of the quotient? Choose the word that makes the sentence true. All right, so 750 divided by 9. Well, let's think about it. 750 divided by 9. All right, so first step, let's see. We've got 720 is a nice friendly fact to 9 because I'm thinking about my multiplication, right? So 9 times what is 72? I know 9 times 8 is 72. So I could just pull out a whopping 720, because now I know 72 and 720 could be used. And then 30 are left, right? So this is just helping me think about the problem. It's not that I have to solve it. I just really was trying to wrap my head around it. So now I'm thinking about 720 divided by 9 and 72 divided by 9. 72 divided by 9 is 8. So 720 divided by 9 is 80. So because it's going to be somewhere around 80 for this answer, it's an estimated answer, right? My first digit of the quotient is going to be in the tens place. I can just tell, right? Because I did an estimated number there. All right, almost done. Ursula bought 9 dozen rolls of first aid tape for the health office. The rolls were divided equally into 4 boxes. How many rolls are in each box? All right, so first off, we have to know what dozen means. Do you remember? How many eggs are in a dozen? Do you remember that? It's 12. All right, so first I guess we have to figure out how many rolls of first aid tape she bought. So 9 dozen. We have to do 9 times 12. All right, so even though this is now multiplication, I'm still using the distributive property because I can't live without it. So I'm going to break my 12 into a 10 and a 2. 9 times 10 is 90. 9 times 10 is 90. And 9 times 2, I still have to do that part. It's not add 2. I still have to do 9 times 2 is 18. So that means this would be 108. So together we've got 108. Now, that is not my answer. It says how many rolls are in each box. So if I put 108 rolls into each box, that means I'm going to have way more than 400 rolls. So remember, this just means 108 rolls need to be divided into boxes. Okay, so now we're off to 108 divided by 4. All right, so let's see here. Got to move this stuff around so I have some room. Shrinky dinky down. Okay. So 108 divided by 4. Okay, so what would your first move be for that? How would you begin solving? So you really want to think about what your first move would be, how you might use the distributive property to help yourself. So for me, I'm going to think about 100. I like it. I'm using money. Just came to me in my mind. So I know 4 quarters make $1. So that means 4 times 25 is 100, which also helps me solve 100 divided by 4, because that would make 25. You can use money to help you in these situations, you guys, even though you may not have realized it. Okay, now I just have to do 8 divided by 4. Well, let me get my division symbol first. There we go. So 8 divided by 4, which is a basic fact of 2. All right, so that makes this 27, because I would have to add these 2 together. So 27 rolls. Ooh, all right. So does that make sense? Is it reasonable? The rolls were divided into 4 boxes. How many rolls are in each box? 27 rolls. Seems reasonable to me. All right. Ooh, are we on the last one? Yes, we are. There are 112 seats in the school auditorium. Okay, so make sure you have the picture in your mind. There are 7 seats in each row. There are 70 people seated, filling up full rows of seats. How many seats are empty? Of course they would ask us about the empty part. Okay, so we need to probably make sure we have the picture in our mind, right? It's very important. 112 seats, 7 seats in each row. Okay, so here's a row, 7 seats. Here's a row, 7 seats. So on, right? Now, there are 70 people already seated. So that means we must have something like, what, 10 rows of people already seated? Because 7 times 10 is 70. So, ooh, will she do it? There we go. There are 70 people seated. So if we had 10 rows like this, the way I just drew it, this would be 70 seated people. All right, now, out of 112, we're going to use a number bond again. We've got 70 people already down, sitting, eating popcorn comfortably. Let's pretend like that actually happens at the school auditorium. And then we know 70 plus 30 is 100, but we have to get all the way to 112. So we need to add 12 more to that 30. So 42 still left to go. Right? So 7 times what is 42? 7 times 6, right? So we would need to think about, we've got all these people that still need to get into these seats here. And then we've got, so these are, hold on, let me put a rectangle around it. These are filled. The rest are empty, right? So we still have 42 more people to go. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42. So these are the 42 people that still need to be seated. So there are how many empty rows? Let's check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 empty rows. All right, kids, we have done a lot of math. I know you're going to be great on your assessment. Make sure that you stop. Make sure you have the picture in your mind. That's the most important thing. Use the distributive property and make it easy to break apart with the divisor. And also ask yourself, is your answer reasonable at the end? Make sure you've answered all parts of the question. All right, kids, I'll see you next time. Bye.